Welcome back, everybody, to Laying the Points with Luca Rosano. I'm your host, Luca Rosano, on this April 19th, and we got a lot to get to. We're going to be recapping my picks. We're going to be getting into some news stories from the night that was. We're going to be getting into my NBA picks for tonight. We got 3 games. I'm not going to be touching any hockey games. As you see, there is a full slate of hockey games if you do want to bet on that. And then we will get into some baseball talk. The Jays kick off their series against the Red Sox, important early series in the AL East. But we're going to start at the top here. Let's look at the games that I did bet on last night. Didn't do that well. I won 1 and 2. I took the Raptors to cover plus 7.5. They got blown out again. I took the Jazz to cover minus 5.5. They did not cover. And then the only game I got right, Warriors covering minus 7.5. They had their way against the Nuggets, as the Warriors look very, very lethal moving forward, as this is a team that has Steph coming off the bench, and that's proving to be a very dangerous weapon for them. So, yeah, those are my picks, 1 and 2. I'm hoping to do much better tonight. Like I said, we got a 3-game night in the NBA in terms of playoff games. But before we get into those games, let's talk about news story number 1. The Toronto Raptors. They looked lifeless once again against the Philadelphia 76ers. And all of a sudden, this team, who many expected to be much more competitive than the team that they showed, are down 0-2. And now the question becomes, can the Raptors overcome an 0-2 series deficit based on what we've seen? Let's talk about game 2 a little bit. There was so much that went on, and I know a lot of people on Twitter were looking at the free throw discrepancy, as there clearly was one. You look at this right here, Raptors, 5 minutes left in the game, and they only shot 8 free throws. Philadelphia had 30 total free throws, and Joel Embiid alone had more free throw attempts than the entire Toronto Raptors team. A lot of people really concerned about this, as there were screenshots of Joel Embiid and Harden flopping, a lot of touch fouls that shouldn't have been called. Right there, look at that. Raptors 10-12 at the free throw line, Sixers 26-30, and like I said, Joel Embiid had more free throw attempts than the entire Raptors team had throughout the entire game. Was there a big free throw discrepancy? There was. Were there moments where you were watching this game saying to yourself, what the hell, are you really going to call that? Every time Joel Embiid gets touched, you're calling it. There were a lot of those where you kind of grimaced at the TV set or wherever you're watching on your laptop. But was this the only reason why the Raptors lost the game? Hell no. So I get why people want to blow this out of proportion, but fans got to realize the Raptors lost this basketball game for many other reasons, despite having the free throw discrepancy. The Raptors were terrible in this game. Let's not sugarcoat it. They shot the ball not well. They were ice cold. Fred VanVleet was missing open shots. Siakam wasn't nearly as aggressive as he could have been. Gary Trent Jr. was a non-factor. He was sick in this one, only played 9 minutes. We did not see him for the rest of the second half. OG was the best Raptor, stats-wise. But the Raptors knew going into this game, they were going to be in an uphill battle. They knew all their players had to play at their best capability to have a chance. And I thought the Raptors were not good in this game, making shots that they needed to, and their defense was lousy. They once again let the Philadelphia 76ers do whatever they wanted offensively. Maxey had another terrific game, my X factor for the series. Joel Embiid had a 30-plus game, 30-point game. Tobias Harris came through again. And I said going in, if Maxey can do his thing and those role players can step up and hit shots, which they have been, Danny Green, the Sixers are going to be incredibly tough to beat. And what's scary is that James Harden hasn't even been looking like his old self offensively. Only had, I think it was 14 in this game. And he had another low-scoring game in game 1, but he's getting his teammates involved. However, if James Harden starts to heat it up and he can go for 20-plus, even 30-plus points, which he's capable of doing, that's just going to add another layer of offense that the Raptors have to deal with. So are the Raptors in trouble? You sure as hell better believe they are in trouble. And I did want to mention this. It was funny towards the end of the game. Very interesting altercation between Nick to each other. As you see, this game was over. in the dying seconds of the game. And they had some choice words for each other. And Nick Nurse was giving the officiating an earful all game long. And then it was later revealed what Joel Embiid actually said. And he basically said, I told Nick Nurse respectfully, stop bitching about the calls. And that's coming from a guy who does a lot of bitching himself. So there's a lot of contradictory there, but Nick Nurse, he was clearly upset all night, and he has definitely complained a whole ton in the first 2 games. Now, a lot of it is just, but the other side of it is, listen, coach, if it's out of your control, if the Sixers are going to have a slight advantage with the free throw discrepancy, there's nothing you can do about it. You got to control what you can control. You got to get your guys better prepared. Your team did not play well beyond not getting to the line. You got to get this group ready. You got to have these guys composed, and it starts with Nick Nurse. They got to see composure in him. And now this team has to get on the plane, go back to Canada, and they better be ready for that game 3. Because if they have another uninspiring effort in this one, a lazy effort, unmotivating effort, they're going to go down 0-3. And then at that point, Shaq might end up being right of the Sixers sweeping the Raptors. And I never would have thought in my wildest imagination that the Raptors would be swept by the Philadelphia 76ers. I thought the Raptors were going to at least get one of these games. And I would be a lot more optimistic knowing that the Raptors will be back at Scotiabank Arena with that home crowd on their side if the Raptors showed just a little bit of heart in these 2 games. But these were 2 routes. I know they had a fake comeback in game 2 in the 4th quarter. It looked like they might have had something, but then OG bounces the ball off his foot. Sixers go on an 8-0 run, and that just closes the door to that game. But overall, despite many bursts, the Raptors have not looked like the number 5 seed. This does not look like the team that we saw all season long. So the Raptors are very well in trouble. Now, do they have a chance to come back from 0-2? Of course. You cannot underestimate the heart of a champion. They have guys on this team who were a part of that 0-2 comeback against the Bucks, and they did come back from 0-2 against the Celtics, but they did end up losing that series in 7. But that's what I want to see here. Even if the Raptors are not going to go on to win this series, let's see if they can at least make it a series. Can they be competitive? Can they at least bring this to a 6th game? Can they force the Sixers' hand a little bit? Because right now, the Sixers look like they've been hardly breaking a sweat out there. They've been looking like they're having a good time, an easy time. They're getting whatever comes to them. They've had 2 perfect games to start the series, and it looks like the Raptors look lost. They look like they do not belong. So that's what I'm looking for in game 3. Can the Raptors at least be competitive and try to steal a game and put the pressure on Philadelphia for game 4? Because in my opinion, the only way the Raptors have a chance to win this series is if they take both in Toronto. Even if they take one and it's 3-1 going back to Philly, I know Doc Rivers has a tendency of blowing 3-1 leads. He did it before in the playoffs with that Clippers team. The Sixers aren't blowing a 3-1 lead. Not this Sixers team, at least. Raptors need to take 2 in Toronto, even it up, go back to Philly if they want a chance. So we'll see what happens there. But the Toronto Raptors, they look to be in some deep trouble with the way they've lost these 2 first games, and now they have a must-win on Wednesday against Philadelphia in Toronto. Let's get into news story number 2. The Utah Jazz are who we thought they were. This is a team that people were calling them frauds all season long. Going back to last season, I did not believe in them as the number 1 seed, but they fooled me. And I hope I'm not going to eat my words of picking against the Mavs and picking with the Jazz here. But I did give the Jazz the benefit of the doubt. I thought this Jazz team was going to beat this Mavs team in this best of 7 soundly, especially since the Mavericks did not have their prize, did not have their stud superstar in Luca Doncic. But the Utah Jazz proved all of their doubters right. Kendrick Perkins saying, as expected, the Jazz are doing what they do every postseason. Brunson just gave them a 41-piece. Carry the hell on. I want to pull up another tweet here from Bill Simmons, who basically perfectly summed up how I feel about this Jazz team. Sorry, I'm just never, ever, ever going to believe in this Utah nucleus. And I'm done believing in this team because I know it's just one game and they could go on to win the series. But you look at how they lost game 2. You get 34 from Mitchell. You have the Mavs right where you want them to be. And you let Jalen Brunson go off for 41 points. You let Kleba have 25. You let the Mavs hit 22 threes. You know what their game plan's going to be. There's no Doncic. Of course they're going to jack up threes. Guard the damn line. Don't let life be easy for Brunson. With all due respect to Brunson, he's been a great player to Luca all season long. But for him to erupt for 41 in a playoff game, there's something wrong with that. And the Jazz, they had great production from Mitchell, but Gobert only had 8 points. And here's my problem with Rudy Gobert. He is one of the most gifted defensive players we have ever seen play this game. But what has been the burden is that he is limited offensively. And as the number 2 guy on any team, you need to shoulder the offense. I don't care who you are. If you're going to be deemed the number 2 guy on a winning team, as Gobert is next to Donovan Mitchell, you got to produce more than just 8 measly points. So Gobert needed to step up offensively, and we've seen that's been his biggest problem. He is not reliable with his offense. Teams can guard him. If Gobert is not getting easy layups, easy lob dunks, he cannot create for himself. And in today's NBA, you need a big who can create his own shot. Look at Embiid. He looks like a 7-foot Kobe Bryant at times, turning away, fading back, hitting threes. Gobert's game, it would have worked beautifully in the old NBA. But in today's NBA, you got to have bigs who can shoot. You got to have bigs who can create for themselves. And that's the knock on Gobert. He is so good defensively. And at times, that makes up for him being limited offensively. But in a series like this, Gobert had to show up big, especially with the other team missing their best player. So now, am I nervous about my Jazz pick? You better believe I am. Because all Dallas needed to do was take one of these first 2 games to really put the pressure back on Utah. And now, maybe Luca Doncic can return at some point in this series. Now that he sees, okay, we might have something here. The Dallas Mavericks are not going to look lifeless. So now the pressure goes back on Utah for game 3. And if Utah doesn't come out with an inspiring effort and they don't win that game convincingly, and let's just say Luca doesn't play another game in the series, then they're in some serious trouble. And I was just talking to producer Patrick off air, and I said this. I said the Mavs are that one team in the West that is that playoff dark horse. The most interesting team, a team that I think could cause some disruption in this Western Conference playoff picture. Because let's say the Dallas Mavericks survive this onslaught without Luca Doncic. They can get past the first round. You might be in a position where you don't even have to play Luca in the first round. And then all of a sudden, you got a superstar in Luca coming back for round 2 with the supporting cast. You better believe Dallas will have a viable chance against the Suns in round 2. Because as I look at the Western Conference playoff picture right now, I know it's very early to be making these claims, but I'm going to do it anyway. I think we're on a collision course, like I said in yesterday's show, for Suns Warriors. I think it's inevitable. That's going to be the Western Conference Finals matchup. Just look at what the Warriors did yesterday. They're coming for blood. We're going to see the Phoenix Suns tonight. But if there's one team in the West that I would bet on to possibly disrupt that, of us having that matchup in the conference finals, it's this Mavericks team. Because of the unknown, because they do have a superstar who can take over a series, who can go up against the Warriors of the world, the Suns of the world. They got Luca Doncic. So if the Mavericks can survive this first round, they beat Utah, and Luca Doncic comes back feeling much better in round 2 against the Suns, let's just call it for what it is. I don't think the Pelicans are going to win that series. That is going to make things extra juicy in the West. And if the Jazz don't win the series and Luca's not even there, man, just blow this thing up the next day. I was never a firm believer of this Jazz team as well. And I don't think this duo will live to see another season if they have a premature exit when they were deemed the favorite with the other team's best player out. So the Jazz are proving everybody who thought they were not a good team right. This team looks fraudulent, and they better come out with a much better Game 3, a much more resounding Game 3 performance that leads you to think, okay, this is still the favorite in this series. Okay, let's get into some NBA picks for tonight. We're going to try to rebound and we're going to try to do much better tonight. Unlike last night, the goal is to always go perfect. I mean, I am betting on these games too, so believe me, I really try to go perfect because I want to make some money on these games and I want to help you guys make some money on these games as well. The first game we're going to look at, Hawks Heat. This was a game I got wrong in game one. I thought the Hawks could have stolen game one. They got blown out. They got destroyed. And this is now a similar spread than the one we had in game one. So the question becomes, will we see a much better Trae? Will the Hawks be able to cover the spread against the Miami Heat? I'll say this. I don't see Trae Young having a worse game than the one he had. He was not good at all. He and Bogdanovich, two guys that this Atlanta Hawks offense relies heavily on game in and game out, they were non-existent. Trae Young, 8 points, 1 of 12 from the field, 0 of 7 from 3, 6 turnovers, and Bogdanovich only had 6 points, 0 of 8 from the field, and 0 of 4 from 3. Maybe fatigue was a factor for the Hawks. Remember, they had to win 2 games just to get to this spot while Miami had the whole week off. But I do not think the Hawks are going to have nearly as bad as a performance tonight like they did in game one. So I'm banking on Trae Young to look like his all-NBA self. I'm banking on guys like Bogdanovich, Gallinari to hit shots when they do get open looks. And the Hawks are 5-0 against the spread in the last 5 games following an against the spread loss. Miami's a good team. They're legit. Their defense is very scary. Look what they did to 2 of the best, or at least one of the best offensive players in the world right now in Trae Young. So that's not a defense or a team you can take lightly. But I am banking on the Hawks to have a much better effort. I do think this game will be close. I'm looking forward to this game. So give me the Hawks +7. Another game I'm really looking forward to. John Morant, he has been tweeting. He's been looking at other series. He's been, having pictures of Michael Jordan with the bat in the locker room. I think John Morant's got to focus on his damn series and focus on the task at hand. Because right now, the Grizzlies could very well go down 0-2 against the Timberwolves. I am sold on that game one performance by the Minnesota Timberwolves. And I think this team can win this series. I think they can win tonight. Because you look at Minnesota, they got such a talented big three. Look at Ant in game one. He outplayed Ja. He was the shining star in that game. 36 points, 12 of 23 from the field, 6 assists. Cat, 29 points, 11 of 18 from the field. He had a much better game than the one he had against the Clippers to get into this spot. I really like the T-Wolves in the spot. Morant was just 8 of 18 from the field and 0 of 2 from deep. Pat Beverly, he's licking his chops right now because he knows he's somewhere in the mind of John Morant, and he did a great job on him, trying to contain him. So I like Beverly to continue to disrupt Morant's groove for the rest of the series. And let's not forget, this is a guy in Morant who missed a ton of time to end the season. So you almost got to think, is rust even a factor here for his slow start in game one? Now, all in all, I do see the Grizzlies responding. I would not be surprised if they even win this game to tie it up. Because, I mean, if they lose both these games at home and then you got to go into Minnesota in that wild environment with those crazy fans down 0-2, it's not going to look good for the Grizzlies. So they have to win tonight's game. I'm going to go with the Timberwolves +7. Even if they don't win tonight, I do expect them to keep this game close. I really liked what I saw from that team in game one. I like what I see in this team in general. They're a team that is playing with ultra confidence right now. They don't care who the Grizzlies are. And right now, they are not looking like a number 7 seed. They look like a top 4 seed with the way they've been playing and the confidence they're exuding. So give me the Timberwolves tonight +7. So I'm taking 2 dogs tonight already. I got the Hawks +7, Timberwolves +7. And then the final game of the night, Pelicans Suns. I think this game's going to be a wrap. I'm laying -9.5 with the Phoenix Suns. Now, Phoenix, they did let New Orleans back in the game in the first game. There was a point in time where the Pelicans did make a run, but you still look at what they did to the Pelicans in the first half. They contained them. Mikal Bridges absolutely isolated McCollum. He is such a defensive talent. He did not win Defensive Player of the Year. Marcus Smart did, but he was one of the front runners. This Phoenix Suns team, they had Chris Paul go off last game. Devin Booker had a great outing. As you look at the numbers on your screen, Paul, 30 points, 10 assists, 4 3-pointers made. Booker had 25, 8 of 19 from the field, 4 3-pointers made, 8 assists. As long as they continue to get production from those two guys, Paul can continue to facilitate. they're going to be tough for anybody. And in this spot, I would not be surprised if the Suns come out harder and they want to replicate what the Warriors have just done in the first 2 games. Because you better believe they're looking at what other teams are doing and they're trying to, show that themselves to prove to people, whoa, whoa, whoa. Before you guys start talking about the Warriors coming out of the West, don't forget about the number 1 seed. Don't forget about us, a team that has done it all season long. So I expect the Suns to come out motivated. I really do. I think they want to come out with a really impactful win here, and they want to just blow the door off of the Pelicans. And I think they're going to do exactly that. So I like the Phoenix Suns to come out with that intensity. I like them to just clamp up the Pelicans all game long. I think CP3 is going to get his. Booker, Aiden, Bridges is going to lock up the scorers on the Pelicans side, particularly McCollum, who is going to have to be brilliant in this game if the Pelicans do want to steal one on the road in Phoenix. But ultimately, I can't see it happening. The Suns have been the best home team all season long. They're going to go up 2-0, lay that -9.5, and don't even think twice about it. So those are my 3 picks. Now let's get into some baseball talk here to conclude the show. Just very quickly, I wanted to tee up tonight's series between the Jays and the Red Sox, as Kikuchi is going to be taking on Eovaldi. And the Boston Red Sox are going to be the favorite tonight, -1.5. This is a big series. I know we're not even 2 weeks into the baseball season, or this is going to be the 3rd week, but anytime you get Red Sox, Jays, 2 teams that are expected to do big things this season. I mean, Jays, Red Sox, Yankees, pick your poison, pick your choice of coming out of this division. These early games mean a lot because these are games that you want in your back pocket when you get later on into the season. So let's look at tonight's game. You look at the Red Sox, they have won 4 of their last 6, and they've been playing really well offensively, scoring at least 4 runs in 5 of their last 6 games. And they've hit the ball very well against left-handers, and they've had a lot of success against Kikuchi overall. You look at the Blue Jays, this is a dynamic offense as well. You got guys like Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Bo Bichette. A lot of people are expecting this Blue Jays team to go to the World Series. A lot of them have them winning the whole thing for the first time since '93. But for tonight's game, I'm going to ride with the hot team. I'm going to go with the Red Sox. Now, I'm not going to go with the spread. I think this could be a very close game, a 1-run game. So I'm actually going to go Red Sox money line -130. Like I said, the Red Sox have won 4 of 6. They're playing really well. And what concerns me for the Blue Jays is just the amount of success the Sox have had against Kikuchi over the years. And you look at Eovaldi, he has been lights out from an overall perspective. He is one of the Red Sox aces. And he has struggled, though, giving up 7 runs in 2 starts against the Jays last season. But I do think even if he gets into some issues in this game, the Red Sox have a very solid bullpen that they can rely on. So I do expect this to be a high-scoring game, a close game going into the 7th, 8th inning. But I do think the Red Sox at home will win this game on the money line and sneak one out to begin this opener with a win over their AL East rivals, the Toronto Blue Jays. So let's just quickly recap my picks for tonight. If you do want to bet on these games, this is going to be my parlay. I like the Timberwolves +7 over the Grizzlies. I like the Hawks +7 over the Heat. I like the Suns -9. I'm laying the points against the Pelicans. And I like the Red Sox on the money line against the Blue Jays. Drop 10 or 15 bucks on that, even less on 4 games. Payout would be pretty good. I use FanDuel Canada. You can use whatever you want. There's so many options now, especially here in Ontario. But those are my picks of the night. We'll see what happens with these games. We'll be back on live tomorrow to tee up the Raptors Sixers Game 3. That's a must-win for Toronto. I'll give you my picks for tomorrow night and more, pardon me. And hopefully we can be coming off of a 3-0 or 4-0 night with my NBA and MLB picks for this April 19th edition of Laying the Points with Luca Rosano. You can catch the show every single day, Monday through Friday. We're on YouTube, Twitter, Parlay TV. Keep it locked and loaded. This is Luca Rosano signing off. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you all again in tomorrow's show.